Have no fear, Hippie Hero is here. And today I wanted to talk about a video I watched of Kaiser the Gamer. I really love a lot of his content. Forgive me if I say he, I'm still trying to work on using the they, them pronouns with them. Um, but I love a lot of their content. They make really good videos. I agree with a lot of their points. And I found what I didn't agree with. His latest video on Trail of Torment, I've did not agree with for a bunch of different reasons. I kind of just did want to go back, rewatch the video, and kind of point out the things that I saw that I found a little bit problematic.
And now it's time for another lesson in gaming terms with Kaiser. Today's subject, power creep, and how it sucks, but it is unfortunately inevitable. A power creep is when something within a game releases that it completely renders something else meaningless. Normally, this comes in the form of doing the exact same thing as the previous thing. Characters, abilities, items, and whatnot are all things that can power creep other things. The inevitability comes from the lifespan of a game. Regardless of what the game is, there is only so much that can be accomplished within a game, and thus things are inevitably going to overlap. That's how we end up with 57 killers in this game, whose power essentially boils down to dude dashes forward with a knife. Granted, power creep is something that can be avoided for a long time, assuming the developers take risks. And while behavior has certainly been showing a lot more risk-taking prowess, the near entirety of the D&D chapter as a whole showed a ton of unique ideas with new mechanics and a new way to affect the flow of the match shows that. But even with that chapter in mind, we still got things like kick Jin cause regression with the unknown, and make Jin take less time with Sable the Troop and Lara Croft. And unfortunately, chapter 31, All Things Wicked, brought with it one of the subjects of today's video, unforeseen. When kicking a Jin, put your tear radius on that Jin and set it to 32 meters. For the next 30 seconds, you are undetectable and that Jin has your tear radius. This perk then goes on a 30-second cooldown. This sounds great and unique, except for the fact that we already had a perk like that, it belonged to Pyramid Head, and it was called Trail of Torment. Kick a generator to become undetectable until the Jin stops regressing. The Jin is highlighted in yellow to all survivors. This perk then goes on a 30-second cooldown once undetectable is over. You might already start to see the issues cropping up. Trail of Torment has been power crept, in literally every way, by Unforeseen.
I would heavily disagree with that.
Consistency, power, synergies, and even fucking price points, Unforeseen is far better in every way than Trail. Personally, I'd rework Trail to some sort of slowdown, like kicking a Jin makes the Jin be repaired 10% slower for 60 seconds after you kick it.
That would
Wouldn't
be a
even
cool
need
perk.
to give the perk itself a cooldown, make it to where the Jin cannot have the slowdown reapplied until the timer is over. This would fit Pyramid Head extremely well. But let's go over why Unforeseen's mere existence plummeted Trail from a middle-of-the-road C tier to a F tier don't even bother type of perk.
I would say that right now, Trail on certain killer, or before the latest update, the 8.1 or 8.0 update that caused a lot of bugs, Trail Torment, I would define it as a B tier on certain killers. This definitely was viable, pretty strong in the right hands as long as you built a build around it. Currently, I would say it's A tier because not only have we had the shadow buff to generators. Um, so for those that don't know, like whenever you kick a generator, now you have to repair it for at least, I believe, 5 charges before you can actually it starts regressing, which is even better for Trail. And since people can no longer just barely tap it and then it goes away, which that was in the last update too, but it's definitely kind of helped it out over time. And then I believe the cooldown has been reduced significantly as well.
Consistency. In any video game you play, the things that will be the strongest will be determined by their consistency and value. If the value is high but the consistency is low, then it's not normally very good. If the consistency is high but the value is low, it's pretty crap. But if both are high, then that thing will be put into an A or S tier status. With Trail of Torment, it has pretty high value, giving undetectable is incredibly powerful, but the fact that it can be taken away from you at any given time is what makes it pretty shit. Sure, it's possible
I would say it's very beneficial. Because the survivors see the aura of it, they will immediately start to flock towards that generator when they do see it. And you can use that to your benefit. A lot of times, what you can do is you can trap that generator. You can use perks like Dragon's Grip, Eruption, even machine learning, one of the most non-used perks in the entire game. You can run with Trail Torment and make sure that gen gets completed first, most likely. And then you can actually receive value off of that because it's such an unexpected perk be used in combination. Um, Given it's only really used on like certain killers, but when it's ran on the killers it's good with, it's a good perk.
For trail to last longer than 30 seconds, but that probably, and more often than not, will not happen. The gen is highlighted, so survivors are simply going to go take it away from you. Some counter arguments I've received to
It
this
can
in the
create a
past are
dead
things like,
zone
well,
around
you
the
use
area
trail
as
to trap
well.
the survivors. You kick the gen and then you wait for him
It
to come
is a
repair it,
great
or
trap
yeah.
perk, and I would say it's significantly better than any type of trap totems, because at least with Trail of Torment, you can decide, hey, I want to set traps around here because I know there's a weak 4-lane wall there with no pallet. I know there's just a filler pallet that's breaking over there. I'm gonna set my trap around here and have the survivors come into this area, and then I can punish them for that. And if they don't come into that area and they don't work on it, you just get free undetectable for a significant amount of time.
Yeah, but it gives you info to address these points in order. Unforeseen can do the exact same thing. Kick a gen, then wait for the survivor to
It
come
does
back to
let
it.
you know
Your terror
when
radius being on
somebody's
the
on a
gen
gen.
doesn't mean they won't go to it. In fact, many survivors will simply ignore it once they realize you have unforeseen, because they will watch you walk away and then your terror radius is still on them. So if anything, it works even better because your terror radius can overshadow the noises your killer normally makes. And on to the
Um,
second point, there are tons of better ways to get
I don't feel like that works as well with unforeseen, because, like, say you're working on a gen array with unforeseen, you will be hearing that terror radius and say it expires like right before the killer makes it back to you. You may still hear the terror radius, but like that difference in audio may be significant enough where you can notice it fairly easy if it runs out just in the right amount of time. 30 seconds is a short time to do something in this game.
info out there. Surveillance and Caller Brine, for example, are both far superior in terms of info. Surveillance can be applied to multiple gens at once and works well with Unforeseen. Oh, but I have both in one perk slot, you might say, and like, why do you need that? Why have two effects that are done in a mediocre, inconsistent way in one perk? You are practically wasting a perk slot within itself. It's better to run two perks that do their effects well than one perk that does its effects shittily.
I would kind of like more clarification on that. Like, does he mean using surveillance with unforeseen, or using unforeseen with trail torment? Because you don't need surveillance with trail torment because you know your undetectables going off, or when the generator has stopped regressing because you lose your undetectable.
Synergies. The synergies for both Trail of Torment and Unforeseen are exactly the same.
No.
Basically, any perk that procs off the kick of a Jinn. Nowhere to Hide, Pop, Overcharge, Oppression, Dragon's Grip, Machine Learning, Undone, and more all work with both perks that are up for discussion for today.
That is
However,
true.
Unforeseen once again outdoes Trail by adding 4 perks to its arsenal. While I don't necessarily recommend you combine those perks with Unforeseen, it's important to remember that perks that work on your terror radius, Unnerving Presence, Corlophobia, Septic Touch, and Dissolution, all synergize with Unforeseen because the terror radius on the Jinn counts as your terror radius. Also, Unforeseen can combine with Dark Devotion to allow you to place your terror radius in 2 different places at once, and neither of them being on you. It's kind of crazy the more you think about the myriad of additional ways Unforeseen can be used over Trail of Torment. While both have incredible similarities, many things that synergize with Unforeseen also synergize with Trail of Torment, but Unforeseen just has that little bit more.
But the thing that unforeseen lacks is while unforeseen pushes people away from generators, Trail of Torment forces them in. As soon as a survivor sees any type of glowing killer object, especially like the trail where you're undetectable for long periods of time, and that helps with your chase, that helps with your map mobility to a degree, being able to move around the map without being spotted. Um, they'll instantly start to try to work on that generator if they see it. So, as what you can do, Dragon's Grip, Eruption, create dead zones around that area, and it basically just becomes a danger zone.
Price point. Pyramid Head is a licensed chapter that costs a minimum of $5. He cannot be purchased for iridescent shards.
Oh, true.
$5 might not seem like much, and maybe it isn't to most of you, but the important thing to remember is that money is money, and many people spend basically every penny they have on bills and necessities. So because Pyramid Head costs real money, that means the only way you're going to own Trail of Torment is with real money. You could wait around for the scam of secrets to finally have the fucking thing in there, but you'll be wasting a long ass time. On the other hand, the Unknown and its far superior perk can be bought for $5 or 9,000 iridescent shards, which are free. You have to grind them, sure, but still, if you don't have money, then you get what you can get. So once again, Unforeseen outdoes Trail by being more accessible as a whole. Like I said in the beginning of this, I had reworked Trail to make it to where you could kick a gen. It has a slowed repair speed by 10% for 60 seconds, with the 60-second timer being applied only to that gen. This would make it an easy B or even A tier perk. It's not straight regression, so it's not retreading the same
Yeah,
nonsense
I
we've
would
already
say.
had. We've been seeing, and it would actually be able to separate itself from the rest.
I hate that
I think that
change,
at
but I
the end of
do
the
love
day, it's
that as
very
a
important
feature
that you just
perk.
kind of understand how strong Unforeseen is and how useless it makes Trail of Torment by simply existing within the game. I know a lot of people really don't like hearing me say that, and some people will still try to argue that Trail has some uses that Unforeseen doesn't, but
It
simply
has a
put,
lot.
no, they don't. Everything that you can come up with to try to tell me Trail of Torment is good for, Unforeseen is good for the exact same thing, and in some cases, even does it far
Unforeseen
better.
is not good for
But that's
trapping
all
the
I have for you
area.
guys today. Hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, let me know what you think down below. And as always, a great big special thank you to my channel members listed on screen now. If you want to
Okay. Um, yeah, I love Kaiser. Make sure you give them a like and follow and subscribe. I don't need one. But back to what I was talking about. Let's go to. Okay. So I'm kind of surprised that Kaiser couldn't see like the utility that Trail Torment has, especially since the some of the killers it works best with is someone who used to main Billy. Okay, so you can equip Filthy Slippers and make you undetectable after 2 seconds of Chainsaw Sprint, which is not the best one for the build, but it works. Apex Muffler, your all killer or survivors outside your terror radius do not uh, do not hear your chainsaw. You pair it with Trail of Torment, um, you can be completely silent across the map as long as Trail of Torment is active. You can use Lethal Pursuer to find the first person to down them quickly with Apex Muffler. Um, and then you can use Machine Learning and Eruption just to keep it going throughout the match. And it works phenomenally well. And particularly in just high mobility killers. Other high mobility killers that benefit from it are killers like Blight. He benefits off of it, kind of using the same build. And there's other perks you can use. You can use perks like Tinkerers. You can use Ultimate a weapon to a degree. It used to be stronger because you would run into survivors and you will lose your undetectable, and then you make them blind. Um, but just the blindness effect in general is good at hiding things from them. And particularly, it's not the best one. I would say Mindbreaker's probably the best because it makes them blind while working on generators, but it would help me hide my Trail of Torment throughout different matches. Um, I think Oni probably does it better than Blight because overall, he's a more silent killer to begin with, which is very, very handy. Um, and you can pair it with stuff like Dragon's Grip as well. The ones that really pair well, I feel like with Dragon's Grip are more the trap killers that benefit with it. But I believe there's even some Legion builds that pair well with it. Yeah, I actually was ran the same build, Trail Torment, Tinkerer, Mindbreaker, and Dark Devotion, so a little bit different. You can always put in different parts like extra batteries. You can and use items that inflict blindness with Legion. You hide it even more. Um, and let's get on to some trap killers that use it. Let's Singularity would be a great one. So this is the other part. You can always hide Trail Torment. You can put on stuff that applies blindness, and you can get more and more value from your Trail Torment. This is probably one of the nastiest builds I've had on my Singularity at one point. Um, Keep in mind, I had to get into a slugging mindset for this build. Because it is all about chase and knowing where people are. In Singularity, he's great at camping generators, but I would say he's probably one of the best killers in a game for actually slugging survivors. Um, but you can use Temporal Stream, so they'll have blindness on them as long as they have the meatball on them. Blitzstream Infection just helps increase it. How many people have meatballs? Knockout, hide their aura while they're down. Trail Torment, you can be undetectable across the map, and then just use. They'll be focused on the knockout person a lot, so they really won't notice the Trail of Torment as much. And Fearmonger kind of helps hides both of them. So by the time they get off a generator, they may notice, oh, I'm missing a person. So they may start going on that, or they may start going straight towards a gen. Either way, they're still gonna have trouble finding one or the other and wasting time. And you can use that Trail Torment area, set cameras all around it. And you can also put on perks like Ruin or Surge, and it gets a lot of benefits from it too. I was already convinced Trail was a good perk when it was at 80 seconds. Kind of like how Skull Merchant, she was one of the very few killers in the game who could actually use oppression when it was at 80 seconds, and that was proven up against with the match of the Skull Merchant main versus Team Eternal. Um, they were able to get a lot of value off of oppression, even with an 80-second cooldown, because they used it in just the right way. Um, and like just in general, some perks that you wouldn't see on certain killers will be good on others. Trail Torment would get no value from Mikey. I don't see it getting any type of value out of like our race stealth killers for the most part, but on like high mobility killers, you can get a lot of value from it. And another one I would say that is surprisingly good. I kind of don't know how to include this in a video. It's just talking about slug builds in general. Probably the part I will say that surprises me the most, that is actually kind of decent and not just. Trail Torment has there are certain parts. So Noed is basically good on any killer. Extra Berries is basically good on any type of killer. They have a lot of flexibility and they will improve just about any build, just like Agitation will to a degree. Um, but there are some perks like Unforeseen will work better on some killers like Wesker than others. Trail Torment will work better on other killers. Um, Actually, Wesker could probably use Trail Tournament to a pretty good degree as well. But the one I think that surprises me the most that I will used to stand by before the sloppy nerf was Bloodhound. It was only killer in the game that actually I found got value out of Bloodhound was Skull Merchant. Because she used it to track other survivors. At, she wasn't too fast like Rave, or too fast like Billy and Blight. Um, but it would kind of help you catch survivors right in the middle as they were healing up against Sloppy. Um, but she wasn't too slow like other killers like Trapper. He couldn't really follow people. But you could use Bloodhound to counter people in loops, help you find people healing, resetting, working on gens. It was one of the best perks in the entire game just for Skull Merchant before the sloppy nerf. And Franklin's is kind of a similar way on Pinhead. But yeah, I kind of really just disagree with like a lot of what Kaiser said. And figure I'd make a video about it. I may disagree with him, but I still love the Rios. I still like appreciate them as a person. They're an awesome person, and give them a like and follow. And I'll see y'all around. Have a good day.